What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and folks, it has finally happened. Today we're going to be talking about a story that was bound to happen in due time. And what exactly that story is, folks, let's just go ahead and read the headline, and it says, with prison staff shortage, Oklahoma looks to hire teenagers as guards. My God, they about to have some kids as prison guards in the state of Oklahoma. And let's just think about that for a second. For anybody who's ever served time, or even if you've never served time, you could probably imagine what it would be like for a young rookie guard coming into a jail or a prison for the very first time. All of the things that are being yelled at that officer. Hey, fresh meat. Hey, look, boy. Hey, boy, your cheeks is pink. Pink cheeks. We got a new one. We got a new one on the boulevard. Boy, you trying to be the state police, ain't you? $2. $2. I got $2. Say this dude don't last his 8-hour shift. Yeah, I've most certainly heard it a time or two, a guard getting berated on the very first day, especially a young guard at that. But it most certainly seems like in the state of Oklahoma, they don't give a damn about that. And because of the fact that they're having a guard shortage, it almost sounds like a power outage. Because of the fact that they're having a shortage of correctional officers, they are now willing to rob the cradle. Probably didn't land right. They're now willing to hire individuals, kids, fresh out of high school. Folks, ask yourself this. What's a 17-year-old kid gonna do when there's a gang war erupting inside of a prison? Probably the same thing that I did when I was serving time and something like that did happen. I tinkle on myself. Oh my God, what? I'm not about to get involved in that. I also like the picture that they use for this story as well. Look at this stock image right here of a guard talking to an inmate. A correctional officer talks with an inmate at the Joseph Harp Correctional Center in Lexington. Oh, that is in Oklahoma. I wonder what they're talking about. You think they're just shooting the shit, or is that inmate giving him some information in exchange for an extra hot dog tray? We don't know because we weren't there. But they do say a picture's worth 1,000 words, and I got 1,000 that come to mind right off the top of my head. The first one being Tekashi. But that's probably not the case at all. They're probably just talking about the weather. Or maybe the latest football game. Go sports. Teenagers, fresh out of high school, could be hired to guard and oversee hardened criminals in Oklahoma's chronically overcrowded and understaffed prisons. Oklahoma, y'all have sunken to an all-time low. Hiring kids fresh out of high school, thinking they gonna stop anything. Damn sure probably tell something though. But you know what? I can already imagine what the hiring campaign and slogan would be. Isn't it in Montana where they just spent $400,000 on an advertising / marketing campaign about that state's problem with methamphetamine? In fact, here's a picture of where that $400,000 went to with the slogan that says, meth, I'm on it. It took y'all $400,000 to put that together. Y'all could have gave me $400,000 and I'd have gone to Montana and solved y'all's meth problem. I don't know how I'd have done it, but $400,000 damn sure give After Prison Show a whole lot of opportunity to get some resources to be able to do something. But I got completely off track right there. We're talking about Oklahoma and the fact that they are hiring kids to be correctional officers. They're willing to do that. And I can already see what their marketing slogan campaign. I'm copywriting this right now. Do not use this. Oklahoma, don't you use this. Don't you do it. But the hiring slogan on that big billboard out there in Oklahoma is probably going to say, you're probably going to end up in prison one way or another. Why not come work there instead? That's actually kind of clever. I like that. And again, that's copyrighted. Don't try to do anything with that. In a little noticed action. Oh, it might have been little noticed prior to today, but today, After Prison Show is taking notice. In a little noticed action, the Oklahoma Board of Corrections passed a set of legislative requests earlier this month that include allowing prisons to hire correctional officers as young as 18 years old. Barely 18. Isn't that something else? Currently, the minimum age to become a correctional officer, and this was news to me, I had no idea, so maybe this might be interesting to you as well, is 20. Well, prior, it was 20 years old. You got to be 18 to buy a pack of cigarettes, even though I think they just made that 21 in a lot of places. 18 or 21 to buy cigarettes, 21 years old to drink, But you can be 18 years old and you can go work in a prison. They might as well drop the drinking age to 18 because them kids are going to need a drink after that first 8-hour shift working up inside of a prison. Woo! Good God, it was only the first day! The things that I've seen, I can't unsee them. My God, you just came out your first day on the job as a seasoned vet. Jesus, what's going on out there in Oklahoma? The Department of Corrections has struggled for years to attract and retain workers for the job, which now starts with a salary of just under $33,000 a year. And I know $33,000 doesn't sound like a whole hell of a lot of money, but I mean, that's where you got to start. You got to start at the bottom. And then hopefully, you can work your way on up. Despite a $2 per hour raise passed earlier this year, the department recently announced it still continues and struggles to fill hundreds of positions throughout the state. You know what that tells me right there is nobody wants to be a correctional officer. And I wonder why that is. Horrible pay, or the pay is just not that good to start with. Dangerous conditions, long hours. You're working in a prison, for God's sakes. You know, one thing the guards used to tell me, and they've told me this quite a bit, whether in prison or after prison, dealing with AfterPrisonShow is, even guards feel like they're serving time as well. Then you got to deal with all the BS that you get from the inmates because a lot of times they're not going to like you. A lot of times, unfortunately, they're not going to respect you. That's a tough job. It's too early to tell if the legislature will take up the request to lower the minimum age during next year's sessions, but the proposal already is raising this question both within and outside of the prison system. Are 18 or 19-year-olds able to perform such a potentially dangerous and sensitive job? To answer that, I'll go ahead and do so. No! I honestly don't think so. Maybe some could, but most probably could not. Folks, let's go ahead and take a look at this next stock image that they've incorporated with this story of a correctional officer sitting in this chair in such a peculiar way. Why is he sitting on his leg like that? That just strikes me as incompetent for some reason. But he's sitting at what appears to be a school desk. I also notice he's got a coffee tumbler sitting on the desk portion of this desk. And he's sitting here acutely tuned in to the cell right there in front of him, which is one of those 24-hour butt-ball naked observation cells where you're up there either butt-ball naked or in the turtle suit, and you know why, because you done said something or acted in such a way where the jail or the prison or your loved ones feel like you're a danger to yourself, so bung! They put you up in there, and you've got this dude who looks like he needs a bigger shirt sitting in an elementary school desk watching you for 8 long hours. Seems like a pretty damn boring job. No wonder nobody wants to be a correctional officer. What do? I watch naked people all day long. Y'all remember that movie, The Sixth Sense? I see dead people. I see naked people. My acting is absolutely through the roof these days. I cannot believe they did not cast me in that new Jumanji movie. I would have been a perfect sidekick to The Rock and Kevin Hart. I actually think I'm pretty funny. I'm probably not, though. It is scary to think about teenagers being in the position of power. Oh my God. I didn't even think about that. Think about the control you're willing to give an 18 or a 19-year-old kid. Let me give you a perfect example, even though it's probably a polar opposite of this story. I'm going to give you an example. This is what comes to my mind. When I think of an 18 or a 19-year-old kid as a correctional officer responsible for the lives of 20, 50, 100 plus grown men or women, it reminds me of a time when I got out of prison. And I got one of my very first jobs at working at Little Caesars Pizza. I was making $7.25 an hour. I was given 2 days per week, 4 hours each day. 8 hours total per week. I was going to be making less than $50 a week working for Little Caesars, not Papa John's in that creepy interview the ex-CEO just gave. But I'll never forget my manager, my boss, the guy who was supposed to be in charge of me. He was 17 years old, probably making a whopping $8.50 an hour. And I didn't like this guy. I found it hard to respect him. Joe, you mopped that bathroom floor yet? Yes, boss. Yes, I mopped it. Yes, sir. Yes, commander. I mopped it. Catch you outside, I swear. If I catch you in the drive-thru though. Just because of how young this dude was, and because he was given a position of power, he didn't know how to handle that. He was not manager material at 17 years old. This kid was a punk and borderline a bully as well, which could have led to some big old problems for him if Joe wasn't worried about going back to prison, which I absolutely was. So I wasn't about to do nothing. But I think about that situation and now intensify and multiply that by 1 bazillion. And you've got 18 or 19-year-old kids potentially about to be hired to be correctional officers up inside of a prison. What prison y'all about to put them up inside of? And I hope you won't say maximum security. Oh boy. And let's just think about this real quick. You're willing to hire 18 or 19-year-old kids to become correctional officers. Do you honestly think there's going to be many 18 or 19-year-old kids that want to be correctional officers? They're going to be in a uniform doing a real live version of Beyond Scared Straight. I don't think they're going to be no good to you. Just my honest opinion. And I really want to hear what you guys think as well, so please let me know. That's putting a lot of responsibilities as well as liabilities in their hands, the story would go on to say. Oklahoma has over 18,800 inmates in its state correction facilities and employs about 1 correctional officer for every 11 inmates. Well, that says it all right there. You're going to put 1 18-year-old in charge, in command, and responsible and liable for 11 lives. Although it's down from more than 15 inmates per correctional officer 5 years ago, prison officials continually fight to attract and retain workers. Department of Correction budget documents show only about 25% of correctional workers have more than 5 years of experience. Let me throw this in here real quick. Why don't, and hear me out now, this is about to sound super crazy, but it just might work. It might even sound just a little less crazy than being willing to hire kids to police a prison. But why don't places like Oklahoma, because I'm sure there's other states as well that are dealing with shortages in correctional officers, why don't they instead make certain examples for cases that might be okay, but consider giving people with felony convictions a chance to be a guard? I know that sounds crazy. You know it sounds more crazy? Trying to hire kids to be guards in a prison. Think about this now. A person who has served time in prison, making them a correctional officer, they're going to know the ins and the outs of that prison. Now, granted, it might be hard to weed between who's going to be willing to bring the pack in or not. But if you find the right one, like old Joe, you put me in a guard uniform, people already think I'm the police. You put me in a guard uniform, I'm tearing that place down during shakedown. Tearing it down. I know all the hottest spots. And I'm not the only one. Give me a starting salary of $33,000 a year. Shit. It's better than what I was making at Little Caesars. I'm going to do that job better than anybody else. I'm going to make captain, lieutenant. I might even make the damn warden. A little food for thought right there. Y'all let me know what you think of that idea as well. I'm telling you, look, I just solved the problem here in Oklahoma. They got a guard shortage. Here's your solution. There's got to be like a job for that. What is the name of a person who goes into a company and helps them find solutions to problems? Because whatever that is, that's what I should be doing. Now again, send me to Montana where you just spent $400,000 on your marketing and advertising campaign for your drug problem with methamphetamines. Send me there. I'm going to help you bust that up real quick. And we'll go ahead and wrap this story up with this. I want to wrap this up on this note right here, which should speak to my solution that I just offered, hiring convicted felons to potentially be guards. They say lowering the age from 20 years old to 18 wouldn't necessarily mean we're going to hire every 18-year-old who applies, a spokeswoman said. We want to look at it on a case-by-case basis, since we know every individual matures at a different rate. And that right there, folks, could have a double meaning. Because think of that instead of age, but in terms of somebody who served time and who has a criminal record, who could potentially be a good candidate as a correctional officer. Look at every case on a case-by-case basis. Folks, that's it. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please leave a like and a comment letting me know exactly what you thought about this. And as always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world. Never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace!